Hey there, Veronica. Long time no see.
Hey, Jon. Yeah, we took quite the hiatus.
It happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we missed that many good movies, so I think it's okay.
Whoa, Veronica. Keep talking.
I am Veronica. This is Box Office Time Machine.
Oh my God.
Are...
Veronica, I don't know if you know this, but they say tell of people who talk so good that they can tear through the veil of life and death. And I think your podcasting skills are that good. Keep talking. I'm seeing my ancestors, Veronica.
Welcome back to Box Office Time Machine. We talk about
My
the
grandfather.
number one movie at
Keep
the
going.
box office.
His grandfather. Keep going.
We love movies. Sometimes we watch an old movie. Sometimes we watch a new movie.
Oh, Veronica, stop. All my ancestors are just complaining that we curse too much. This is boring.
Oh, sorry, ancestors.
Let's just move on. Let's start the show. Toot toot.
Toot toot. Hi. Wow.
I had that whole long hiatus to think of a great intro, and that's what I came up with.
That's pretty good, in the grand scheme of our intro.
Welcome, folks, to Box Office Time Machine. Yes, we did go on a brief little hiatus. We apologize for that. We are back. Look, we didn't go see the Minecraft movie. What can we say? We did go. We recorded an episode, but Veronica and I got arrested at the movie theater for just getting too crazy during that chicken jockey scene. And we have been in jail now since Minecraft movie opened, and we've just gotten out in time to do this episode. Hi, I'm Jon.
I'm Veronica, and we have sinned.
That's what we said to the judge during our sentencing for the Minecraft movie disruption.
Exactly. Yeah. It also happened on Easter, so it was all like just a perfect amalgamation of things.
The chicken jockey is risen. Yes, we are not talking about a Minecraft movie. We are talking today about Ryan Coogler's big hit for an R-rated original movie, Sinners.
Yes, Sinners. It made quite the splash at the box office, Josh.
It did. I'm out of practice.
$55 million. Last weekend.
It did. I saw it was the number one, the best opening for an original non-franchise R-rated movie since 2013's Gravity.
I kind of love how they have these 1,000 modifications. This is the best opening for a movie that is set in mid-century United States and is directed by someone from USC who never actually graduated.
To be fair, we're not on the level of every single professional sporting event where the commentators have to be like, yeah, this is he's going for the best pitching game ever for a pitcher with a first name who starts with J and was born between 1980 and 2000. This is, I think, the best opening for an original R-rated movie in many, many years. I think that is a genuinely impressive little factoid there.
No. I don't want to take anything away from the accomplishment.
You are. You're sucking it up like a vampire.
I mean, adjusted for inflation, is it though?
But the question is, all right, you're making some money, Sinners. But the real question is do the hosts of Box Office Time Machine like you? So let's hit it. Veronica, I guess we'll just start. What'd you think of Sinners?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty great. What did you think of Sinners?
Back to hiatus. All right. I had a wonderful time as well. We did not get to see this together, even though Veronica did visit LA recently. We saw a different movie. Maybe we could talk about that a little later. But I had a great time. Here's my headline. I'm going to put this out there. Here's my headline to start the conversation. Sinners is an excellent movie about Depression-era blues musicians, and an only pretty good movie about vampires. However, combined, it's a very good movie about music and art and cultural assimilation. How do you feel about that headline? It's a very long headline.
That's good. Can I give my headline?
Good. Yes. Journalists are being thrown in jail by the administration, so we should get on. We should do our part to write headlines.
Exactly. Yeah, this is our impetus. My headline is that this movie has made Irish jigs as scary as Riverdance and Michael Flatley did.
I was going to say this movie does for oral sex what I don't even know what comparison I was going for. But there's a lot of talk about cunnilingus in this movie.
There is a lot of progressive talk about cunnilingus considering the area. So that was good. And the area, I don't mean the vagina. I mean, like...
Look, I think if there's anything Ryan Coogler wants to get across to his audience through his movies, it seems like he's very serious about looking at the Black diaspora and the ways a culture can be either restricted or survive through being kind of confronted by another culture. And the other idea he wants to get across is that dude eats pussy.
He is so progressive.
Dude,
I love that about him.
He will go down on you. Is Ryan Coogler married?
Yes. I believe his wife produces his movies.
Oh. So if he didn't eat pussy, then she would have been like, Ryan, rewrite those scenes. Or maybe she added the scenes in revisions.
By that logic, he might also spit into an open mouth of his partner. The longest, slowest loogie ever, every time.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, you get some real spit stuff in this movie.
Yeah, that was, to be honest, I mean, we'll talk about the horror aspects of it, but that might have been the scariest moment for me. And the one where I had to look away from the screen was during that saliva scene. I was like, oh, this is nasty.
Tarantino's a fan of the feet. Mr. Coogler's a fan of the mouth.
Is that in the... the director's cut of Black Panther? Is there like a scene where T'Challa like slow regurgitates a loogie into Black Widow or something?
We have to drink that special. It's been a while since I've seen Black Panther, but they do have to drink something. I don't know if there's a scene where who plays his girlfriend in that? It's is it Lupita?
I thought they have a will they won't they with Lupita, or is she his girlfriend? I don't remember this movie pretty well.
I know, spoilers, she had his baby in between the first and second movie. Spoilers for end of Black Panther 2.
Yeah, I feel like that is another thing. He loves revealing like actual big plot points in like after credit sequences.
Ooh, okay. All right, let's put a pin on that. Let's actually we'll move away from the pussy eating for a bit. Okay, here's
yum.
let's Let's start with the thing I put out there. This is a movie we both liked. People are really liking it. So I'm going to start with the hotter take first, that I do think this is only an okay vampire movie, but I also think it doesn't particularly matter. Here's like my example. The first half of this movie, I think, is absolutely electric. Every scene is just exhilarating to watch. This is all the stuff about the plot of the movie. Them smokestack brothers. They're going to start a juke joint. They got their little cousin coming along, but vamps. All right, that's the plot of the movie.
Irish vamps, potentially.
One Irish vamp, and we will actually talk about what this movie is about, and we will get into that in a second. But the first half, as they're setting up the juke joint, it is so exciting. Every single bit, when they're getting their gang together, they go pick up Delroy Lindo, when we hear Sammy play for the first time. All of this stuff is wonderful. Then we finally get the vampire stuff. And after this incredibly leisurely paced opening, not slow, it's exhilarating, leisurely in a way, unrushed, not feeling any need to speed it along. To its great benefit. When we finally get to the vampire stuff, we go through what would have been the entire second act of most horror movies in a fucking montage of just like, yep, this is what vampires do. We're hearing voiceover. This is what vampires do. This is how we should set it up. Blah, blah, blah. Don't let them inside. Anyway, we're bored with that. Come on inside, vampires. Like, it is rushed along. And we have the scene, spoilers, where it's Stack who dies first. Stack is behind a door. We get the classic scene of one person's possessed and trying to be let inside, and everyone else is like, that's not your brother anymore, Smoke. And it's like fine. It's fine. The stuff with we get introduced with a knife, so then it's like we keep waiting for the knife to reappear, and then we get a surprise different thing that happens. It's fun, but you compare it to, say, all the sequences with the mother behind the door in Evil Dead Rise from a few years ago. I think those sequences, it's the same exact setup, and I think those scenes are more interesting. So this vampire stuff is both rushed and it's not exactly unique, yada, yada, yada. Why does that not really matter? Well, I think it's right there in the end, where in that last final conversation with aged Sammy talking to Smoke and Mary, Stack and Mary in their wonderful 90s outfits. And he says, before everything happened, that was the best day of my life. And I think the focus of this movie is so much more on everything that happened the day before and what it matters to those characters, that the fact that the vampire stuff is purely good enough, it's not bad, it's good enough, certainly good enough for mainstream audiences that are not like huge horror fans, that I think it does its job for what the movie is trying to do overall.
Yeah, I would buy that. I think there are some stuff about the pre-vampires that I would also, I think it meandered a little bit. I love the getting the team back together or assembling a team. I love discovering the world, but it just felt like a bit too long in the beginning to me. I also didn't necessarily like that they started in medium res. I felt like that actually kind of destroyed
You're talking about the
some
church
of
scene?
Yeah, in the beginning, I feel like that kind of destroyed some of the tension in terms of who lives or dies. But I guess that, to your point, if that's not something that Ryan Coogler actually cares about, then I suppose that's fine. But I don't know. It feels like a bit of a bummer that he did not necessarily take the same time, or not even like the same time, but at least like try to kind of infuse something new in the formula as he has in the preceding, I would say like 2/3 of the movie, into the zombie stuff. It felt like there were definitely some fun bits about it, but it also felt like, as you say, very rushed, but also kind of predictable. There wasn't anything that happened, I think, in that sequence that was not entirely expected.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like there's a lot of like new and interesting stuff that came before. And even like the after credit sequence, I thought it was actually pretty interesting that he went there. I thought it was an interesting ending. But yeah, so that's why I think like this movie was pretty good, and I'm very happy that it's successful because, as we say, an R-rated movie that's an original movie doing well at the box office is fantastic, especially one that is good. But I kind of selfishly wish it was slightly better.
I mean, as a fan, a huge fan of horror movies and vampire movies in particular, I do wish it was a little more unique in and particularly I love horror siege movies where people are trapped in a place and a bunch of disparate characters and monsters are coming from all sides and they have to work together. That's like one of my favorite plots for a movie. But so yes, I like we're saying, I wish some of that stuff was more unique, but the stuff before was unique enough to the extreme, and it was all serving such a clear, coherent goal that it didn't matter to me. And I guess before we get into the real vampires of it now, what do you think of the music scene? The big music scene.
Oh God. I'm a music scene hater.
So I know you guys are out there because I went with one of them. I was with a group of people. Everyone loved it. I'm fully on board. It is admittedly incredibly corny, but a big corny swing like that, I loved it. I loved it.
Get it. My boyfriend loved it too. He was like, I really liked it. To me, is just the rest of the movie. To me, the match between music and image is so perfect. There are other musical sequences where the editing is so perfect to the music and it gets you really energized and full with adrenaline. Like the scenes where they're beating up a cheater at a game and that kind of like is intercut with the performance on stage. That was so electric. That was fantastic. To me, that scene, just the music, it feels like a bad girl talk mix. Like the mashup of the music was not as like cathartic and organic to me. Like as I was listening to it, I was like, oh, this sounds kind of off. And yeah, I mean, the idea, I've come around on the idea itself because I heard Ryan Coogler talk about it, and he kind of mentioned the idea that for these characters in that time, this was their basically, as Sammy says at the end, this was like probably the highlight of their lives, which are largely being lived in this fairly oppressive society where they don't get a ton of benefits or a ton of reasons to be happy. And this was his way of showing to these characters, stepping out more as a filmmaker and being like, oh, it's going to be better. Look at like what all the things that our culture is going to create, in the future, and how things are going to truly be better. You might not live to see them, as many of these characters don't, but here's like sort of what this having this music and has led to in the future. And I do like that explanation, but to me still like the scene itself, and maybe I'll rewatch it and I'll perceive it differently, but it still like didn't land emotionally as I think it has for many other people. But I mean, listen, I love the other stuff. All the other music sequences I really loved, but this one I did not like as much.
It's interesting hearing him describe it as that, because we do see, of course, people like people from like thousands of years ago playing music, right?
Yeah, it also kind of felt like, like it's a small worldy at times. Oh, now we have this person who's like an old Chinese person. And it was just like, okay, I got you.
To me, I like out of the three like very like corny kumbaya ideas in movies that will always work for me. It's like stuff that's about, not in this movie, but the one that stuff about like familial stuff, like between like parents being proud, a parent who's never been shown pride suddenly showing pride in their child, that will always get to me no matter what. That's not in this movie. But the other two are stuff about tradition transcending time, like tradition flowing through generations, and then also cheesy stuff about the power of art. So you've got 2/3 of the corny ideas that will win me over every time combined into one.
So you're saying if Ryan Coogler had the preacher dad come in that moment and do
one tear down
clap,
his face.
Yeah.
I
and you can like, you pan down and you see like his foot is lightly tapping on the floor.
Oh boy, I would have fucking gotten out of my seat, left the movie theater, driven over to the Academy Museum, and gone, you motherfuckers give that man an Oscar now.
I mean, you know what, John? I'm with you. I get like a good music sequence. It makes me, I legitimately tear up at curtain calls for musicals that I don't like. I like any like curtain call for a thing that I hated, even, I just, like, we did this together and this is great. And like a great music number like gives me legit chills and like moves me and, lives in my head for months sometimes. But it's just like with this one, I don't know, it didn't do it for me. But again, I do appreciate the swing, and I understand that a lot of people liked it, so I'm not gonna hate on it. I don't really have much to hate on necessarily. It's just, it didn't do it for me, that's all.
It's the kind of thing where it's one of those, that's the reason the analogy works with the big swing. It's, for some people it's going to hit a home run, or you're going to miss and swing around at home plate.
Yeah, and I appreciate the big swing too. And I don't hate that it's there. I find the fact that it's there very interesting. It's like, in Fargo season 2 when an alien shows up at the end and you're like, what? But it works, So like, I really like when a swing works, it's worth it. And clearly it worked for the majority of people too. So,
Well, okay. So we got that. Let's get into, I guess, the meat of it. What do you think this movie's fully about? What do you think the vampires represent?
Yeah, I kept we kind of started talking about it after the movie, and I think I'm sure, as everyone has, I feel like that's probably the first question. Just Corey, my boyfriend, my lovely boy.
Also a musician. We should point out when you're talking about him liking the music scene. That's
true. So, his opinion matters more in that than mine. But I think it felt like it was about it was like, it felt like it was two things, where it was like the idea of white people taking what they liked about black people's music without kind of taking it whole, because like there's one scene, I think, where the vampire guy says like, oh, I just want you, like your guitar playing and stuff. So that was one thing. And kind of like the idea of like, well, wouldn't it just be better if y'all just assimilated? You'll have it so good with us. There's no racism on the other side and all that. So I think he was playing with those two ideas to me. What do you think?
I mean, I agree. I think there is, you hear about, it's about black people during the Depression starting a bar and playing music, and then white vampires show up. There is a very simplistic reading of this. First off, they could have just been full monsters. They could have, two of them are Klans members, but they could have just been the Klan, but vampires. But that's not what they do. And it also could have just been literally like cultural vampires, white commodification of black culture as vampirism. And that's certainly there. Like you said, there is the stuff about I just want you. There's also the line, a line when they're talking, I think, about Chicago, and they're talking about the kind of clubs they can play at. I think that's where someone says, like, white people love our music, they just don't love us. Is that the line?
I think so. It's close to that, yeah.
But there's something like that's in the movie. I didn't just dream that up.
I think so.
But I think there was a few very interesting choices, which I think lead it to a more nuanced look. And the first is the fact that two of them are Klans members, but the third is very explicitly an immigrant. It's an Irish immigrant, and he's the first vampire we see. And that's what makes me think that it's while it has all that stuff about the culture as cultural vampirism, it also plays into much more the assimilation idea, where assimilating is a promise of freedom, the freedom from the oppression that standing out from the dominant culture creates. But it is a false oppression, a false freedom, where it literally strips you of your connection to your ancestors. That's the big difference about the sinners vampires from vampires in other stories. What they are obsessed with is achieving the kind of connection to their ancestors that in this universe only comes from art. They can no longer do it. They are trapped without being able to ever go to heaven and see their ancestors again. Whereas the human characters, through the art, have this magical moment of connection with their ancestors. And so if you assimilate, you have freedom in this freedom in the world you exist in, but you are severing your ties to your ancestors. You are literally cutting off your culture.
But not only that, it's like you are also, once they assimilate or once, the characters turn, they all like start doing stuff like the jig. Like, so it's not only do you kind of assimilate and you lose that connection to the past, but you also have to kind of let go of what makes you in the present, which I thought was pretty interesting too.
Yeah, I think there's a question of whether we view how evil we view the jig. Mostly I was just sitting there at that point being like, oh man, this movie's making me think of Wicker Man, the original Wicker Man. Now I'm really having fun. I love a musical horror movie. Yeah. There's interesting stuff about like the vampires. They keep saying that the vampires are welcoming of everyone. So they are not, the vampires as racism, at least not the literal racism as personified by the actual clan, who make a fun appearance.
I have a question about that, actually. I think we should talk about it later. We can put a pin on it.
But I think it's interesting. We have this Irish immigrant. The first time we're introduced by the vampire, he is being chased by Choctaw. And at first, I was a little confused by the appearance of it's an indigenous tribe that are chasing the vampires, and they never show up again. It seems like they're going to show up again, but they never do. And at first,
what do you think they were chasing him about? Was it for similar reasons?
Well, I think at first I was like, is this just another example of like using indigenous people as they have wisdom. They already know about the vampires, and they're purely there as expositional props, but they're not. And then actually the character who does serve that plot purpose is Smoke's wife, Annie. So we don't do that with them. And then I think when we see Remick, the vampire, for the first time, he is being chased. He's in danger. He is on his back foot, and he is being chased by this tribe. I think what we can assume is that he tried to do the same thing to them. He just tried to, not Remick the Irishman, I think we can kind of maybe see the Irishman as a previous victim. The way, or at least he has this character, like the way that Irish were eventually not considered white until they were assimilated into the white mass, Irish people and Italian people. We can consider that like he is someone who's been assimilated. And there's we get a depiction of that as kind of an opportunistic thing. Like, to save his own hide, he joins up with literal clan members. He sees their clan robes and he instantly kind of subjugates his own Irishness to get them on his side to protect him. So we see an opportunistic and kind of self-defeating aspect to assimilation right there. We can assume that this culture that is chasing him was a culture that the vampire horde tried to take in and failed. Now he's built up his strength with these people, and now he sees another culture, the vampire, which is like a hive mind in this. I'm saying the vampire kind of hive, sees another culture that they can take in. That's having thought about the scene afterwards, that's how I'm reading it now. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, that of course makes sense to me. I kind of, as you say, I was hoping that they would be like, oh, we are just like hunting vampires. And like, I wanted it to be maybe like more campy than maybe the movie we were watching. But I think that is probably the likely explanation for what has happened. And I think it's also not a coincidence that, the person who says that assimilation is the cure for all of your problems is someone who can easily pass as the dominant group, right? And so we show like people who might not. I'm very pro assimilation. I think we're stronger together than apart. But I think like obviously like the stuff around, we have to be realistic as to like who is able to assimilate more easily and what does assimilation look like for different, kinds of people. So I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, these are clearly thoughts that Ryan Coogler thinks a lot about. You going back to the central question that the characters are facing in the first Black Panther of do we open ourselves up? Do we reveal our culture to the rest of the world? And then the fact that he chose to make one of the major characters in this movie a white passing Black woman, played by Haley Steinfeld, who I did not realize in real life is apparently an eighth Black, because she fully passes as white. But anyway, yeah, they're fascinating, different fascinating ideas. I don't know necessarily how much we have to say on the subject, but I'll tell you this: it's one of those exciting movies where he is so effectively playing in the realm of genre. This is the kind of movie I love. He's playing with the realm of genre, and the whole time you're like, okay, what are you're effectively using the genre pieces. What are you using them to say? And there was a section of this movie where I did think, wait a minute, is this about AI art?
Oh yeah, I saw that was in your Letterboxd review, and I was like, "What do you mean?"
Okay, by the end of the movie, I was like, "Okay, that's not what this is about." But if you think about it, it's when we first started getting more dialogue from the vampires, and the things we learn about them is they're obsessed with artists, they're obsessed with musicians. They want to find a musician. They want to take you over. They know everything about you, and they will recreate your voice, but they will disconnect you from the past. Again, that's not what this movie's about. But I think it's you could make a fun reading of this movie that this is about
see
AI,
that tracking,
AI
for
art.
Sure.
It's not, but you could read it that way.
Listen, maybe 20 years from now or 25 years from now, when Ryan Coogler gets the rights to this movie back, he's gonna self-produce one. If he himself is not AI at that point, and AI is not making all of our movies, of course. By the way, can we talk briefly about this whole like 25-year copyright deal?
For anyone who doesn't know, you want to explain it?
Yeah, so basically, Ryan Coogler made this pretty unique deal with Warner Brothers of this movie. First thing, which is less unique, I think a bunch of people do get this. He's getting his like revenue profit sharing from the first dollar earned, which is usually what happens is that like only once the movie has made a profit, which with accounting shenanigans could be never, would you get profit sharing. But in this case, he gets it right away, which is good. But he also, the copyright for this movie reverts back to him in 25 years. And a lot of like the writing about it is like, this is like unprecedented. This is so unique, which it is. But I don't think it's the game changer to me that people imply that it is. I feel like unless you are Disney with like a vault of like crazy like copywritten stuff that is already so universally beloved by almost anyone, I think the reusability of a property 25 years later, I guess we can't anticipate how maybe Sinners is going to be the biggest movie ever forever. And like we would keep talking about Sinners for 25 years. I don't like personally, I find that very unlikely, despite the fact that I think it is a good movie. And so it just seems like kind of like, yeah, okay. I mean, good for him. I can't imagine. I guess I am very curious what kind of his intention was with that, other than to just like own a piece that he made, which is totally valid. But it just like in the industry press, this is being like hailed as like a crazy game changer, where I think like maybe I'm thinking too bleakly, but I feel like Hollywood is not producing the types of things that are gonna be hugely monetizable 25 years down the line. I don't know. Thoughts?
I think there's a few things. I think first, like I've seen a bunch of people, like I was talking to people about like the scene with the Choctaw Indians, and they're like, well, that's because he's going to make it a franchise and we're going to get a spinoff about them. And I'm like, I don't think so. That does not seem like what the plan that they're setting up is. What would that, what? Like even this, like it's hard to make a sequel to a movie where you jump forward and show exactly what's happened to everyone 90 years later. I guess, yes, they absolutely, if they wanted to, could make the further adventures of Vampire Mary and Smoke between the 1930s and the 1990s. They could, and this movie's making a lot of money, so they just might do that. It doesn't seem like a movie that's screaming out for a sequel, but hey, it's made a lot of money. But
even if it was a movie that sequel would come.
Yes, in a few years. Not
25 years later.
In a few years. But they just announced Ready or Not 2, a movie that literally has a punchline that makes making a sequel very weird and hard. So who knows? Anything's possible.
Yeah.
But we don't know. Like you said, we don't know. This could be the modern equivalent of George Lucas's Star Wars deal, where he's like, oh, sure, yeah, you get the profits. I'll just get the merchandising profits. And then it's the most lucrative deal anyone's ever made ever. But on one hand, yes, because everything in Hollywood right now is pure franchises and recognizable IP and bringing back stuff. Like they just announced... there was just a huge deal for the Highlander reboot, and I'm like, for who? What does that really benefit? Like, are the Zoomers and Alpha kids jumping up and down to see the further adventures of the McLeod clan? I just don't know if that really has that much of a benefit. Sorry, Highlander fans. That there must be
Who
one.
Is Highlander?
There can be only one. What?
Is it going to be Glenn Powell? I feel like if there's a white man in a movie,
I think it's got to be a Scot. Adjacent. I don't think Glenn Powell do it with a Texas straw. howdy there, I'm from Scotland. That's not what.
What are you talking about? Christopher Lambert was the original. He's French.
He's French. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Well, they had Sean Connery. I've actually never seen any of the Highlander movies. Doesn't matter. I
haven't seen them either.
But everything's
okay,
franchised.
so it's Henry Cavill, by the way.
Oh,
that is
fair
the
enough.
new Highlander, directed by one of the John Wick guys.
Okay, look. Anyway, I'll see it. I'll absolutely see it. They announced that big deal, and I'm just like, why? You could make a movie called Immortal Swordman, and it literally would mean the same to most people in the audience. I do not think most people below the age of 40 know anything about the Highlander brand, but so. It is an investment in the idea that for all he knows, Warner Brothers could churn out a five Sinners cinematic universe, and then it's like keeps going, and then they make a reboot in 20 years, and then I imagine what it would really be is that 25 years from now, they pay him a fucking boatload to buy the rights back. I would imagine. I'm not a business guy. I don't really know, but that's just a guess on my hand. I think the interesting thing about this story is a lot of people were theorizing that the coverage of this movie in the industry press was kind of skewed in a way that they didn't want this movie to be the massive hit that it is. And I don't know.
Oh, really?
Were you following this story at all?
I haven't really, no.
This was a lot of people were talking this. This got to the point where like Ben Stiller was tweeting about it, or I don't think he was tweeting about it. Hopefully not. I don't think anyone's tweeting about anything except.
Was he blue skying about it?
I guess posting. I just say posting about
blue sky. Was he threading about it?
Oh, hopefully not. I don't know, but people were talking about this, and it was really like. So all the big industry papers, if people don't know, are owned by the same company now. I think it was Penske Media.
I think that's right.
But I believe they own. They definitely own the
Deadline,
Hollywood Reporter. Variety, and Hollywood Reporter. I think I'm right about that. Do they own all three? Yes, they own Deadline. They own also Rolling Stone, Variety. Hollywood Reporter, right?
That is a good ecosystem.
Am I wrong
right?
that they own Hollywood Reporter?
I thought they did. Maybe they don't. Let's see. Oh, let's see. No, they actually are owned by Eldridge Industries. I was entirely wrong.
I take it back. They just own two. They own Variety and Deadline. But those are like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would believe those are the three major industry news outlets right now. Hollywood Reporter, Variety,
hold
and
on.
Deadline.
Can we pause for a second? This is kind of crazy. I mean, this is kind of like the entangled world of extreme wealth. Uh-huh. But the guy who owns the company that owns the Hollywood Reporter and Billboard magazine also owns the Chelsea Football Club. Like the big football club in London that is used to be owned by a Russian oligarch. Roman
that's
Abramovich.
Pretty cool. I own a PlayStation and a Nintendo Switch. So I think we all have equal amounts of money that we're spreading around in different interests. So
it kind of reminds me when I think the owner of Spotify went in to be a fairly sizable partner, I think, in Barcelona Football Club. They even renamed the stadium Spotify Field or whatever. And we, as employees back then, I worked there, were supposed to be like very happy about this. And I was like, oh, cool. My CEO got this crazy toy.
Well, that's like when Crypto.com bought the arena here in LA. And obviously I am the president of Crypto.com.
I mean, you might be. I bet that website is up for sale because I think Crypto.com doesn't exist anymore.
Anyway, but
sorry,
so the scuttlebutt
was a huge digression.
There was coverage in the stuff, and all the coverage of the movie when it had this huge opening weekend last weekend, which by all accounts was like big. the coverage kept being like, it made, what did it make, 45 million? 45 million this weekend. However, with an eye-watering 90 million budget, it'll be hard to be profitable. And on one hand, yes, that it, like, if you're looking for an angle, yes, this movie made a lot of money, but it also cost a lot of money. Will it work out for them? Is a normal angle to take, but on the heels of all these stories from some of those like Penske outlets, that we're talking about how studios who have a very friendly relationship with the Penske outlets, as we saw during the strikes, that the studios kind of didn't want this deal to succeed, and didn't want other directors to start demanding it. People did start kind of thinking, hey, are they pushing how expensive this movie is more than how much it made as a way to try to make it seem like less of a hit than it is? Honestly, at this point, it doesn't matter because the movie's doing fucking gangbusters. It has legs beyond belief.
Why would they do that, though?
Because I think the theory for this conspiratorial people who believe this, and again, this isn't like just random whack jobs on the internet. Like some industry people, like Ben Stiller, were kind of hinting towards this theory as well. I guess the idea would be that they don't want this deal to succeed because they don't want other people to start demanding it. Because
the deal itself, I see.
Because in the realm where IP is everything, they don't want artists to start demanding control over the IP they create.
Okay, that I guess is fair. Because I feel like the other sentiment, at least, like, listen, I only consume a few things about the industry, and they're usually not Deadline. But like, it was a lot about how people are actually happy that it's doing super well because, like, you know, now at this day and age, any movie by any company doing well is kind of good for the industry as a whole. But, you know, obviously there could be competing, you know, forces in play here. I'm not disputing that.
It was just, there was a measured coverage of the success of this movie at the beginning. And it could just be, people were genuinely surprised, which I think is true, by how well this movie is doing.
I think Warner themselves, their projection for the opening weekend was like 25, 30 million.
To be fair,
they were definitely underselling it.
That's always, the studio itself will always undersell because they want it to be like it overachieved. It's like when you see the other studios' projections of a movie, that's typically more in line with what people actually think.
Right, but I think there's also like the fear where like we don't want another Fall Guy or something, like where, you know, we were like, oh, summer is back, you know, action is back in cinemas, and then it makes like 20 million or like a 200 million budget and everyone is sad.
But Veronica, he had a lightsaber. He had a lightsaber and Captain America's shield. Isn't that fucking cool? I didn't see that movie. I actually liked the premise of that movie. I just haven't seen it because...
fine. It could have been more fun. My biggest complaint about it was that he was supposed to be a stuntman on Miami Vice, which is insane.
Oh my God. I'm so... I'm thinking of Free Guy.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. No. I'm talking about the Ryan Gosling.
Why did you stop me? Why would you like? There was no lightsaber in Fall Guy.
I was like, maybe he did have a sword. I didn't. I mean, it's been a year, so I was like, I don't want to be emphatic about him not having it and then look like a doofus. I'm glad you look like a doofus instead.
No,
so that's good.
It is I who is the doofus. And to be clear, like where this was like industry talk, I may live in LA. I'm no fucking industry insider. I'm talking out of my ass. I'm much more comfortable talking about how many scenes in this movie involve discussions of pussy eating. I'm more knowledgeable about the amount of cunnilingus in movies that appears, which is, it's not that much. Not that many movies have pussy eating scenes.
Sad days. But, you know, what do you think DJ Khaled is going to think of this movie?
I think he's finally going to be inspired. I think he's going to be like, "Hun, it's time."
DJ Khaled.
And then at his next concert, he's going to play so well that he sees all his ancestors. Anyway, should we?
Okay.
Should we rate this thing? You got something else?
A quick question to you.
Please.
I guess. That was another thing that, like, on paper, I should really like, but I was kind of confused maybe about its presence there. Mm-hmm. So we set up the fact that there are Klansmen in these parts, right? And then kind of that is not, I would say that's actually not, as we said, what the crux of the movie really is about. But then it feels like the last kind of cathartic shootout occurs with a bunch of Klansmen. And as much as I love seeing a Klansman be shot, like, and that scene was fun to look at, I was also like, that seems like a movie. Nice. That seems like a movie for, or like an ending to another movie. It just felt like, okay, well, we might as well also, like, you know, kill these people who suck, which is like fine, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. But I was wondering if, like, do you think there was like another like thematic or reason for it to be there, I guess?
I think there are a few things. I think because I agree, it does kind of like, all right, and then these other people we barely get shot. I think it serves a few purposes, both just kind of functional and then also kind of thematic and stylistic. I think first, because we want to set up the idea that there is an oppressive world that these characters would want to find freedom from, that would make joining the vampires be attractive. We need something to kind of personify that idea. And we get, you know,
right, but I feel like we didn't really, if that was the case, I feel like there should have been more of a clan theme throughout.
I agree. There is, well, so we get we want to show that, like, life is hard. We get both in their personal lives. We have Smoke and Annie's daughter or child has died in childbirth or very young or something, and so we get that. We get them talking about all the various ways they were mistreated. I think it doesn't seem like Ryan Coogler wants to focus on the white racists as much as just like, yeah, they exist. We get it. They exist. We don't need to focus on them. I also think he liked the idea of it being a twist that white man from the beginning was always planning on coming to kill them. I think that serves a purpose. I also think he needs to have a way to have Smoke die without being killed by vampires, so that he can go to the afterlife with Annie and his daughter. And so having there be a gunfight. So I think you have all these plot functions of, we need to set up the idea of this oppressive world that they'd want freedom from. We need something that's going to kill Smoke. And you have all these things. And then also we just need the reality of being, you know, these black people in at that time period. You have all those things. And then I think he's just like, also, well, now that I kind of have to have the Klan in this movie, fuck it, let's blow them away with machine guns. And then you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. And I think, yes, it does feel like we just did all the vampire stuff. Now we're getting another climax with characters we've never seen before. It does seem a little odd, just on like a plot construction wise. But there is an old filmmaking maxim. I forget who first said it, but it is shooting the fuck out of Klan's members is always fun no matter what.
Oh yeah, I think it was Churchill.
Yeah, when he made movies.
Every quote is attributable to Churchill when it's not attributable to like Mark Twain
or Einstein.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you want to chat about anything else, or should we give this movie a grade?
Let's give it a grade. I mean, there's a lot to dig in with this movie, but I think we've kind of hit all of it. I feel like I had a lot of conversations afterwards of being like, what do we think the vampires represent? But I think I've kind of come to a kind of a thing that I'm kind of settled on, and you ended up feeling kind of similarly. So I think we kind of hit where we wanted to hit.
Sorry. We be boring. All right. So let's give this movie a grade. 3,
all right.
2, 1. B+.
A-. Okay.
All right. Pretty good. Pretty
A-
good.
B. I could feel me going back and forth between those two, depending on how I'm feeling in a given day. There are parts of this movie that I think are solid A range, parts of this movie that I think are more B range, and I think as a whole it works well enough that it lives somewhere in the middle.
That's fair.
At the end, at the very least, it's a fun movie to watch with a big crowd.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, if you can see it in a movie theater, please do. Though I feel like the crowd at our screening wasn't super like fun, which was maybe a bummer. And maybe the reason was because we saw it on a Monday afternoon. So, you know.
All right. What? Goddamn. When was our last episode? I'm trying to think of what movies I've seen since then.
I think it's been a while. I'm going to only highlight a few.
Oh, well, we did the best of movie. That's why, because our last one wasn't about a specific movie. It was our best of. Oh my God, it's been a while. Guys, sorry. It's been 2 months.
But, you know, I feel like it's a box office time machine tradition to skip January and February to avoid the bad movies. All right. Well, I saw Casino for the first time. John, have you seen Casino?
Yeah, you've never seen it before? That's fun.
I've never seen it before. I saw it in a movie theater. It was so fun. I think it is like peak Pesci. Like, I think he's better in this than in any other movie of him that I've seen. And he is pretty fucking good in every other movie of him that I've seen. So, I thought it was so lovely. It's so sprawling, but in like such a fun way. You can really also see where Paul Thomas Anderson got a lot of his like cinematography ideas for Boogie Nights, which is really fun. Sharon Stone is great. It pains me to say this, James Woods is really good in it.
Look, as a diehard fan of Videodrome, Virgin Suicides, and many others, I've just grown to accept a separation between James Woods, the fictional on-screen creep, and James Woods, the actual real-life creep.
His scenes with the daughter of Sharon Stone and Robert De Niro are so funny to me. She was basically just abusing him, and that was really good. I saw Black Bag, which I really, really loved. I thought it was just like, again, just fun to have a movie for adults in a movie theater. And it looked like sexy. The music was great. It was very like Soderbergh sleek. He's reunited with David Holmes, who did the score for Ocean's 11. So it like sounds great. Fantastic movie. Kind of bummed it did not do better at the box office. And I guess maybe the last thing I can talk about is Companion that I saw. And I loved it way more than I expected to. I had such a great time, and it felt like the script was so smart. Just like everything made sense. I feel like in those kind of like higher concept horror movies, a lot of movies get kind of bogged down by the logic, and then they like kind of stop making sense. But this one, like every joke and every beat kind of was derived from the previous decision that was made and set up. And I was just like, oh, this is so much fun. I also will say that a movie I liked kind of less was Mickey 17. I wanted to love it because I do love Bong Joon-ho, and I thought everyone involved in the movie. I do love them in other things, but it just felt kind of too broad and kind of lacking in like momentum or like a thrust towards a resolution. So, which is kind of a bummer when the thrust of it is like a bunch of clones fighting a bunch of weird animals potentially, or saving them, like a big fight in space, but it just was like very meh. Anyway, what have you seen?
Well, I saw Mickey 17. Never before has a movie with so many elements I loved come together to not work that much. Yeah, it was a real bummer. And Ryan Pattinson's incredible in it. It looks incredible. The premise is so much fun. But for me, there's an early scene where a news reporter appears and he's just delivering an expositional monologue, and it goes on for fucking ever. And yet he's somehow saying too much and too little at the same time, where I was bored listening to him talk, and yet I still had no idea what the fuck he was talking about. And somehow that was the entire movie. That one was a real bummer. This says that I saw The Monkey after our last recording. For some reason, I feel like I talked about The Monkey on this show. But I saw The Monkey after being not a fan of long legs. I am happy to say that I enjoyed this much more. Oz Perkins fully embracing comedy much better. I think in general, seeing these two has shown me that Oz Perkins is a weird thing where he's so close to on my wavelength, but off so that it feels weirder. Like, we clearly like the same movies. The climax of The Monkey is I have to imagine, is inspired by the ending of a little scene horror anthology called Terror Tract, which I have told people frequently has the greatest ending of all time. So I think... I'm sure Osgood Perkins and I would have, like, if we talked about horror movies, would find that we enjoy many of the same movies. But I think we have similar senses of humor, but I think his kind of not caring about, like, characters. I don't mean that fully as an insult. Like, the things he care about are less the things I care about, like, characters and, like, I don't know, kind of coherent plotting. And it just, like, really rubs me the wrong way. But I like The Monkey much more than Long Legs. It is a very fun movie. Not a great movie, but a very fun time. I saw One of Them Days. Absolutely.
Oh, how was that? I want to see that.
Absolutely not a movie for me. No, and by that I mean not a movie for me as a demographic. This is not a movie for 38-year-old white men. But as I was sitting there, I was like, this is cute. This is fun. If I was a 14-year-old girl at a slumber party watching this with my friends, this would be the fucking hit of the night. And I feel like that movie is going to be a big slumber party staple for many years. And in that kind of genre of, like, female friendship comedy movies, it does a very good job. It has a big dick joke that I imagine in, like, a full room of 13-year-old girls at a slumber party would have everyone hooting and hollering. Fun. Not for me, and that's fine.
So it's like new Nboo as opposed to
Fubu.
Instead
of Fubu. Yes, yeah, what you said. A movie that should have been for me, Death of a Unicorn. I loved the premise. I loved the cast. This just, unfortunately, was a little boring. It's a horror comedy where the horror does not start for an hour and the comedy beforehand just isn't funny enough. There's parts I like, but yeah, it didn't, sadly didn't really work for me. Last night, so my parents are in town. My dad really wanted to see Warfare. And I can tell you this much.
Ooh.
My dad fucking loved it. He loved Warfare.
Get him on the pod. Get his thoughts.
I was a little more mixed. It kind of felt Warfare is a better movie than the one I'm about to compare it to, but it kind of reminded me to the movie In a Violent Nature from last year, which is where they did like basically an old Friday the 13th movie. They did a slasher movie, but told entirely from the perspective of the non-talking, like mute death zombie Jason Voorhees character for the entire film. And I saw In a Violent Nature a few months ago, and I went, well, you did what you said you were going to do. Congrats. I don't know if the experiment was really worthwhile, but you did it. I can't say you didn't fully succeed in what you set out to do. And so this is, what if we make a war movie that fully strips out, this has kind of been the trend in war movies going back decades, like Saving Private Ryan. Let's try to strip as much Hollywood stuff out, make it real, make it a non-heroic, make it just kind of as horrible as we can make it to approximate the feeling of that. And this is another step in trying to do this, where it is in real time. There is no score. It is just not even like really a battle. It is just a horrible conflict. This is just a terrible, terrible day for a group of soldiers in 2006 in the Iraq War. And they did it. They did exactly what they said they were going to do. I did kind of walk out being like, all right, you did it. I was fully immersed throughout. The sound design's incredible. I was anxious. Anxious the entire time. It's a horrifying, exhilarating experience. But I still walked out kind of being like, all right, I guess I'm not going to enlist. I don't know what else you want me to take away from this. I will say this. I can't tell you. I've never been a soldier. I've never been a Navy SEAL like these guys. So I can't tell you how authentic it truly is. What I have been is a 19-year-old boy in 2006 when this movie is set. And the opening scene of this movie is a group of around 19-year-old boys sitting around to watch the Call on Me music video. That is as authentically true to being a 2006 19-year-old boy as you can possibly be. So full 10 out of 10, 5 stars on that. And that's my review for Warfare. Oh, and then finally, nice. You and I saw a late night screening of Starship Troopers here in LA with some friends.
That's right. Yeah.
Still great.
It was really fun, even though I was on zero sleep and was like, I think I fell asleep twice. But I've seen the movie several times before, but it was still a very fun experience.
We saw it with the star of a Minecraft movie, Chicken Jockey.
Yeah, exactly. We saw it with Jack Black, who left in 40 minutes-ish into the movie in disgust. He said it was the worst movie he has ever seen.
He turned around and he said,
Paul Verhoeven can go fuck himself.
He turned around and he said, wait a minute, are the humans the bad guys? I don't want that. And he left. No, I think he had clearly seen the movie many times. He had, I think, just popped in to watch it. But I'm sure he was having a great time, because how can you not watching Starship Troopers? It is one of the most fun movies ever made. But I was sitting there with friends. A friend holds up a phone to me, and I look at the phone screen and I read it out loud like a cartoon character. I go, does John see that Jack Black's sitting in front of him? Like a fucking
Maybe that's
idiot.
why he left.
So, Mr. Black, if you are a listener of our show, first, sorry we got arrested going to see a Minecraft movie. Secondly, sorry if I made your night a little less fun by calling attention to your presence. It was not on purpose.
And thirdly, Tenacious D fucking rocks, man. So, yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's all we have. But
you go on hiatus for a bit, you get rusty. I don't know how to introduce the movie anymore. I don't know how to close the episode anymore.
I can tell you what movies old we're going to be talking about next.
That's what we normally do. Veronica, what are we looking at?
some heavy hitters and some lighter hitters. Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Ooh, I didn't like that one. Will I like it now?
No.
We won't find out. Let's do a different movie.
There's Kingdom of Heaven.
I've never
the Ridley
seen.
Scott Crusades movie. I don't know. Potentially. There's French Kiss, the Meg Ryan Crusades movie.
Kevin Kline. Right?
Yes. Yeah. And there's Code of Silence, which is, the internet tells me, a Chuck Norris movie about a Chicago cop caught in the middle of a gang war.
I hate when that happens.
And then we have some actually good movies. We have Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, which I was kind of surprised was number one at the box office. Yeah. Which I have never seen.
Neither have I.
So would be interested maybe in seeing. And The Sound of Music.
I was about to say, I think Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore has one of the famous early pussy eating scenes, but no, I think I'm confusing it with the movie
The Sound of Music.
Yeah, The Sound of Music. Oh my, Christopher. Fuck. Oh, this would have been fun if I remembered either his last name or the character's name. Is he a duke? What the fuck is he in that movie?
He's a Von Trump. He's, I think, like a colonel or something. Or a general?
I am thinking of, there's a movie. What is it? There's a movie where Jon Voight is paralyzed.
Oh, Coming Home, I think.
Called. That one has an early pussy eating scene because he's paralyzed. He's a paraplegic.
I get it. Do we like slowly fade as we talk about this? Is this how?
I didn't need to I was wrong about what movie we were talking about. I didn't need to bring this back up again. Kingdom of Heaven is famously kind of a bomb when it came out. That's Ridley Scott. But then the 4-hour director's cut came out and people said it's a masterpiece. I've never seen either.
Wow.
Do you got 4
hours
to kill,
I haven't seen either.
Veronica?
I don't know. I mean, maybe, but... Well, let's
Sound of
see.
Music
I
is
also just
3.5?
Why does Ridley Scott always need a director's cut to do what he actually intended to do? That, like, I almost judge him. Like, your first movie should be your movie.
Well, I think like Blade Runner is like the first example of like a big release director's cut.
But I feel like every movie that he does has a director's cut. It's like... It's a disease.
I think, like, imagine if you have a movie that comes out on release, it is kind of gets a fairly mixed reception, but then over time, people like consider it a masterpiece. Then they release another version of it, and everyone goes, "It is a masterpiece," and you're like, "Well, fuck this! I'm doing this. I love when everyone told me that this was a masterpiece. I'm gonna do that with all my movies."
I guess, but it's also just like. Maybe release your masterpiece first. I mean, you know what? During that time, maybe he didn't have as much clout as he had. But during Kingdom of Heaven times, I bet he did. Though, I don't know. We'll see. Now I feel like it's a challenge accepted because I did not like the Blade Runner director's cut. And I am kind of curious what I would think about the Kingdom of Heaven director's cut.
Well, it's full circle because we were talking about Christopher Plummer. And obviously, Christopher Plummer did not a director's cut, but reshoots for his movie when he replaced Kevin Spacey. And that was the movie where he played the old rich billionaire who loves to eat pussy.
Oh, wow. Full circle. All right. We gotta do...
It's hiatus. I'm rusty.
All right. Toot, John. Toot. We have to stop.
Fade out.
We have to stop. This has to end. Bye.
Bye.
Toot.
Movie